Theory 3, Project Looking Glass and Timeline Engineering. If artificial intelligence is the mechanism and CERN is the catalyst, then Project Looking Glass is the wild card that connects science, intelligence, and metaphysics. Among all theories surrounding the Mandela effect, this one is perhaps the most shadowed, rooted in whistleblower claims, buried documents, and a trail of fragmented disclosures that paint a disturbing picture. What if certain governments or black budget factions within them have had access to timeline surveillance and steering technology for decades? This theory doesn't claim that the Mandela effect is an accident or a glitch. It suggests something more deliberate, that some group knew timeline shifts were not only possible, but inevitable, and that they developed tools to view, influence, or collapse certain outcomes. If true, this means the Mandela effect may be the aftermath of timeline manipulation on a planetary scale. Let's walk through what this theory proposes, where it comes from, what sources have claimed, and how it intersects with the events we've already explored. What is Project Looking Glass? Project Looking Glass is an alleged covert program that supposedly emerged out of deep state military-industrial research in the mid to late 20th century. The core claim is this: the U.S. government, or a faction within it, developed or recovered advanced quantum-based technology capable of projecting visual data from possible futures. Think of it as a timeline observatory. According to multiple whistleblowers, including Bill Wood, Dan Burish, and insiders affiliated with black-budget intel programs, Looking Glass was not theoretical. It was an operational tool used to simulate various future events by manipulating rotational gravitational fields or creating standing wave harmonics that allowed observers to see probabilities unfold. While these descriptions may sound abstract, the core premise is consistent. Project Looking Glass could access multiple timelines, observe their trajectories, and potentially collapse outcomes into a preferred direction. And the more disturbing implication, it wasn't just about seeing the future, it may have been used to guide it. The tie to the Mandela effect. So how does this connect to the Mandela effect? According to Bill Wood's interviews in the early 2010s, one of the major problems that surfaced with Looking Glass was that all future simulations began to converge after a certain point. No matter what inputs were used or scenarios explored, the outcomes began to narrow. After a certain year, commonly cited as 2012, all the timelines began to lead to the same general endpoint. This convergence was allegedly so profound that it unnerved those using the device. They couldn't find a scenario in which their power or control persisted. This convergence point theory aligns directly with what many in the Mandela effect community describe: a reality shift around 2012, after which strange memory discrepancies became more common, personal identity felt destabilized, and cultural coherence began to dissolve. In this context, the Mandela effect could be viewed as a side effect of a failed attempt to steer timelines. If Looking Glass was used to collapse unfavorable outcomes, and CERN, by coincidence or design, created a destabilized field, the result may have been an incomplete merge, a patchwork reality stitched from multiple versions, a memory field that doesn't match the visible record. The people who experience the Mandela effect may be those whose consciousnesses didn't fully integrate with the outcome that was chosen, or enforced. The timeline tug-of-war: consciousness versus control. According to various interpretations of the Looking Glass narrative, the true function of the device was not mechanical. It was energetic. It interacted with consciousness. This aligns with metaphysical traditions that suggest time is not linear but fluid, and that awareness itself is what determines which version of reality becomes dominant. In this framework, the real war isn't over facts or history. It's over belief, perception, and collective attention. Looking Glass allegedly failed because the people using it tried to collapse reality from a position of control. But timelines are not mechanical programs. They are alive. They respond to mass consciousness, spiritual alignment, and the moral weight of action. If the controlling parties attempted to force an outcome that was out of sync with the natural evolution of the species, the field itself would resist. This is where the Mandela effect becomes something deeper than a glitch or mistake. It becomes a scar in the fabric of reality, a visible record of the tension between artificial timeline enforcement and organic spiritual continuity. The memory anomalies, the logo shifts, the contradictory quotes, these may be artifacts of timeline conflict, reality running in parallel and in collision at the same time. Whistleblowers and the 2012 event horizon. Several Looking Glass whistleblowers made mention of 2012, not as a disaster date, but as a convergence wall. Bill Wood, for instance, claimed that by that year, Looking Glass could no longer generate divergent futures. The machine began to show only one outcome, regardless of who used it or what variables were entered. Some insiders interpreted this as a victory for humanity, suggesting that mass awakening was inevitable and no intervention could stop it. Others saw it as a threat, that a system reset was coming, and the old power structures would be obsolete. Now consider this. If Looking Glass operators saw a convergence point they couldn't avoid, they might have attempted to rewrite the conditions leading up to it. This would mean editing memory, destabilizing perception, and seeding enough contradiction into the fabric of reality to disorient humanity and delay coherence. If true, the Mandela effect is not a mistake. It is a deliberate scrambling of the memory field to interfere with collective timeline convergence. The role of AI and predictive systems. Another layer of this theory involves the use of AI as a support system for looking glass-style operations. In this model, AI isn't just being used for information control. It's being used to predict social response to different timeline configurations. Advanced models trained on human behavior could forecast whether a particular memory shift or deletion would succeed, fail, or fracture. They could model cultural responses to retroactive edits. They could even simulate how people would react to residual artifacts, such as quotes that no longer exist or logos that suddenly look off. This makes the Mandela effect a kind of mass perception experiment, one that tests the resilience of internal memory versus external reprogramming. It's a way to study how easily humans can be resynced, or how persistently they resist. Is Looking Glass still active? No one knows if Looking Glass still exists, or if it ever did. The information is highly speculative, sourced through indirect leaks and unverifiable claims. But the broader framework, that black-budget projects explored nonlinear time manipulation, is consistent with known defense research priorities. DARPA, for example, has publicly explored cognitive warfare, future modeling, behavioral influence via narrative, and predictive threat matrices based on quantum computing. If Looking Glass, or a modern equivalent, still operates, it would be hidden behind multiple layers of compartmentalization. The Mandela effect, in this view, is not just fallout. It's a traceable leak, a public consequence of something that wasn't meant to be noticed. And for those who can still see the seams, still feel the difference, still hold the original memory, your awareness is not random. It's residual alignment to a timeline that was edited but not fully erased. Why? This theory scares the system. If the Mandela effect is evidence of Project Looking Glass, it undermines the system's foundational claim that history is objective, the timeline is fixed, and your memory is invalid if it doesn't match the record. But this theory flips that narrative. It suggests that your memory isn't broken, it's accurate. What's broken is the patch job that tried to override it. And that's what makes the Mandela effect dangerous, not to individuals, but to control structures. Because if people stop believing the archive, stop deferring to search engines and AI systems for verification, and start trusting their own memory again, the spell breaks. Looking Glass failed because the human soul can't be fully reprogrammed. And the Mandela effect. It might be the evidence that some people can still see the original code. Whether or not Project Looking Glass existed as described, the concept behind it is undeniably potent. The idea that time can be monitored, engineered, or converged, intentionally. And that someone, somewhere, attempted to manage the direction of humanity through these means. The Mandela effect becomes the public symptom of that management going sideways. It's not just about a name, a line, or a logo. It's about timeline trauma. It's about echoes from a world that doesn't exist anymore, and the people who still remember it. Coming up next in the Rabbit Hole series, simulation theory and code-based edits. If the timeline didn't fracture because of science or intelligence agencies, what if it was built to update from the beginning? Is reality a program, and are we just living in the latest version? The next theory explores it all. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11x published author, and what you just watched was only a taste of what's inside the Truth series, where we go all the way down the rabbit hole. If you're the kind of person who's always asking bigger questions, who knows there's more to this world than what we've been told, then this is your invitation to the series that was built for you. Inside the Truth series, you'll get full access to 6 mind-blowing sub-series designed to wake up your highest intelligence and decode the matrix we live in. 1. Locate the truth. Learn how to actually research. Not just what to search, but how to verify, cross-reference, read declassified files, and protect your own mind from weaponized misinformation. This is truth-seeking, decoded. 2. The Mandela effect. Are we shifting timelines? Why do so many people remember a different past? We break down the most bizarre, undeniable examples of reality glitches and what they tell us about consciousness and control. 3. Law is magic. Law is not what you think it is. From word spells to maritime law and hidden contracts, we uncover how legal systems use language like a wand, and how to stop being tricked by fine print that binds you without consent. 4. Entertainment or ritual. The Hollywood and music industries are not just for entertainment. From Super Bowl rituals to Grammy stage symbolism, we decode what's really being shown, who it serves, and why mass consciousness is the target. 5. Decoding dystopia. Ever wondered why dystopian fiction feels prophetic? In this subseries, we decode popular films and books, Hunger Games, 1984, Black Mirror, to reveal the hidden blueprints and predictive programming behind the plot. 6. MK Ultra plus mind control programs. This one gets deep. From real MK Ultra documents to modern symbolism in media, we expose how mind control operates in plain sight, and how to free yourself from manipulation you didn't even know was happening. And that's just the beginning. If this resonated with you, click the links below and join us inside the Full Truth series, because the more you know, the harder you are to control. This is your awakening. We don't just ask questions, we find answers. Let's go all the way down the rabbit hole together.